So a while back, I posted a video building and camping in a fighting hole shelter. And that really was more of just a shelter build, kind of a fun camping trip than anything. It wasn't supposed to be like a legit fighting position. But a lot of you guys had some cool comments and suggestions to make that a better, more legit fighting position. So I've read all those comments, and I've also studied a lot of the fighting positions that they built in Vietnam. So I'm gonna try to recreate an actual legitimate fighting position here, kind of going along the same framework of the positions that they used in Vietnam, and maybe even do like a tunnel with this. Again, just to reiterate, I am not current or former military. I just do this stuff because I enjoy it. So when I'm done with this, if you guys have any different suggestions, put them down in the comments, and I might do another one trying to make it even better. Our main fighting position is finished. We're 6 feet long by 5 feet wide by 5 feet deep. There's a few more things I'm going to do digging around here and stuff, but now I'm going to focus on the tunnel leading out of here. I am trying to make this fighting hole more legit than the last one. Like I said, the last one I was just playing around. I was just camping, having fun. But I am trying to make this one a little bit more legit, but I'm not trying to copy anything specific like a one-to-one from anything military. I've just looked at some pictures from the Vietnam War and read some articles about how they built things. So I'm just kind of out here just mixing some of those things together, having fun. And the tunnel, I'm taking a little bit of creative liberty. I'm not going to dig this tunnel the way you would normally dig a tunnel. I'm going to use kind of a technique that I learned doing bushcraft stuff. You know how, like, in every apocalypse show that you watch, when somebody dies, they're like, oh man, let's stop and dig a grave real fast. And it's like a 10-minute time jump, and they've already dug like a 6-foot grave. No way. I'm sorry, but if you're with me and we're in that scenario, there's no way I'm spending the amount of calories and water that it would take to dig you a legit grave. The best anybody's gonna get from me is sprinkle a little bit of dirt over their face, say a few words, and I'm gonna be heading on my way. So I am finished with most of the digging. I'm gonna grab my phone and show you guys around this real fast. So this is gonna be the main fighting position. It is 5 feet wide by 6 feet long, and it's almost 5 feet deep. It's right here to my chest. I didn't want to go any deeper with this because I wanted to be able to actually shoulder a rifle and shoot out of this. From this fighting position, you're going to be able to step down into this tunnel. I am going to dig a step in right here so there's not such a huge drop, but you're going to be able to step down into this tunnel and then follow this tunnel over here to what's going to be a spider hole. So this is going to be covered, but I'm going to be able to pop up out of here and engage from this position as well. So here's our steps so we can actually get from our fighting position into our tunnel. This makes it a lot easier. Here's a top side view of the actual fighting position, our step going down into our tunnel, and then another step leading into what's going to be our spider hole. So in the last fighting hole slash camping shelter build that I did, a lot of you guys mentioned a grenade sump. I did not have one of those in the other one, but I thought it was a good idea. Since I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic with this one, we're going to add one in. So I looked at a bunch of pictures and descriptions of different bunkers and fighting positions that they built in Vietnam, and one thing they did was out in front, they just had a long grenade sump or trench out in front of their fighting position so that grenades could not roll in there. So that's what we're going to do with this one. The grenade sump is finished. It is 18 inches wide by 18 inches deep by 6 feet long. This will prevent grenades being rolled on the ground and actually rolling into the bunker while we're in there. The last thing I need to do digging wise is to dig in a set of steps on the back of this. The back wall of this fighting position is exactly 5 feet to the top of the ground here. So I've come 4 feet back, and I'm going to go down 12 inches and in 12 inches and have 4 steps down in here. More than convenience getting in and out, this is going to provide us a quick egress out of this fighting position if we need to get out of here quickly. The steps were the last thing I had to do. So all of the digging is now complete and I can start actually putting this thing back together. A while back, I had brought down these trees and started building myself a cabin, but I've not found the time to get back to this particular project, so I'm going to repurpose all these logs. This is what's going to form the roof of both the tunnel and got a lot of these logs carried up here that are going to become the roof of this tunnel. Now what I'm going to do with them is I'm going to split them down the middle, open them up, kind of like this right here. This is from a previous project, but it's going to work for this one. So I'm going to have to mark all these and split all these open, and they're going to just be laid across the tunnel like so, and then I'm going to dig them in on the edges so they set down below the ground level. So this is what the roof is going to be like once I get all these split. Everything is split. This is the roof of our tunnel, but like I said before, I want these inset in the ground. I don't want them humped up, so that way when I cover all this back over, you won't be able to like actually see where the tunnel is at. So I'm gonna go down through here and mark all of this, take these back up, and then dig a little shelf in here so all these can actually set down and be level with the earth. I wanted to come check my headspace after I dug this this little shelf in to put my roof logs on, and I can still walk under here completely upright. I don't have to duck at all, so this is perfect. I'm gonna put a tarp over all these logs before I put the dirt back on for two reasons. One, to help stop the dirt from actually falling through the cracks. That way you don't have just dirt falling on your head the whole time. And two, to try to keep any water from seeping through the dirt and leaking down in here and kind of prematurely ruining this whole thing. My idea for our little spider hole here to do like a trap door is to just find a bunch of poles like this and kind of make a square and tie it all together so it's one functional piece. Here's going to be the trap door, so to speak, for this spider hole. To make it like one solid piece, I'm just going to put 3 cross pieces on here and then tie every single one of these to this cross piece to make it one solid piece that will open and close. I was a couple pieces short, so I had to add this little piece on here and extend it a little bit because I want it actually overhanging the edge of that hole so that I can actually dig this in and have it setting below ground level the same way I did the tunnel. So I want to show you guys what this looks like from in the tunnel. So once you jump up on this little platform here, you know, the idea is that you're going to be able to pop up out of here, you know, and shoot at whatever you need to shoot at. I did end up putting kind of an X pattern of cross pieces in here, one on this side and then one on this side. So that's going to make it a whole lot more sturdy when it's covered up. If you actually walk across it, you're not going to feel it give. To prevent this door from just falling back and disappearing where I can't get to it when I pop up out of here, I just put 2 strings on each corner and then drove 2 stakes in the ground right here so that when I throw it back, it will actually catch it and I can grab it and pull it back down if I want to. Also, I fixed a tarp around it. I cut a section and put it on here to, again, you know, protect it from the rain and from dirt falling through. And I left a little bit of tail of tarp on this end so that I can overlap where the tunnel starts and put dirt over that so that it will be waterproof. On my last fighting hole shelter, I think I used 57 sandbags total. Since we're going for a bit more realistic on this bunker versus the other one, I ordered 300 sandbags. I don't know if that's going to be enough to kind of get what I'm going for, but I'm going to start filling these up and placing them, and we'll see how far 300 gets us. Got 150 of them filled. I'm going to start actually placing them and starting to get an idea of how many I need and where I want them before I continue filling these things. I'm going to go 3 high with these sandbags around the outside. That will hopefully give me just barely enough clearance over my head that I can stand upright. But I don't want this opening in the front to be like real tall. You know, you want to keep this kind of small and narrow so people don't have as much of an angle to shoot in at you. So I want to keep the roof as low as possible that I can still stand upright. First log for the roof is in place. I finally have all the logs on top of this for the roof. Now I did have to rearrange them a couple times to get them to fit the best as possible, kind of how I was satisfied with it, but I want to walk you guys down inside here and show you what it looks like from the inside before I start covering this thing all up with sandbags. I'm gonna back the camera out just a little bit. So there's the roof. There's our tunnel. And I did end up putting this little split log in here. I wish it would fill these gaps up right here, but I like the way it narrowed down this little shooting window. I can still shoot out here pretty easily, but it just makes it a little bit of a smaller window for people to be shooting back. You can see how all these sandbags and the weight of all these logs on the roof and what's going to be on top of that is like sitting over top of this tunnel. So, you know, like I said before, this kind of makes it a little bit of a weak spot. I did end up taking out more of these split logs I had at the beginning of this, and there's like 3 of them now that are good, solid round stock pieces. And this one here, which is bearing the most of the weight, it is actually quite big, and it's dug in much further on either side than all these other ones. With those improvements made to the tunnel right here, I feel very confident about putting the 4 sandbags on top of this roof, giving me that 18 to 20 inches of overhead cover. I'm going to turn this next run in the opposite direction. This is going to help close up all the gaps in between all these bags and tie everything together. Then the next one, the third run, will be going back this way and so forth. So we're just going to stagger all of it, make sure we get good coverage all across the roof of this thing. I am finally done. So before I give you guys the final walkthrough and show you everything, I'm going to throw up a couple of pictures and show you kind of where I drew some inspiration. To start with, one guy told me in the comments on the last one that I built that their SOP for overhead cover on something like this was 18 inches of dirt to protect against explosions and other things. So I wanted to get that 18 inches, and I came out to 4 sandbags. So you can see right there, that's almost exactly 18 inches of overhead cover. I'm not sure if there are any specific SOPs for walls on these types of bunkers, but these walls are 2 sandbags deep, giving us a total thickness of 24 inches on both of our walls. So a lot of guys mentioned a grenade sump in that last build video that I did. I did not want to put a grenade sump inside of the position itself because I wanted to be able to move around without stepping in a hole. A technique that I did find pictures for and read about that was employed in Vietnam was digging a grenade sump out in front of their fighting position so that the Vietcong or NVA, whoever they're fighting, could not actually sneak up on them and roll grenades into the fighting position itself. So I built this one. This is 6 feet long by 18 inches deep by 18 inches wide, set about 1.5 feet out in front of the actual fighting position to prevent grenades from being able to roll into the fighting position itself. I did as much as I could to make the angle of actually shooting back into this bunker as tight as possible. I have both of the walls extending out maybe 1.5 to 2 feet in front of the actual opening itself. In my mind, that just closes the angle that could be shot in this way into the bunker a little bit by extending these walls. Also, I have the entire face of this extended out about 1 foot over where the actual position is at, and 2 logs here to make this as tight as possible. The opening is about 7 inches off the ground. So in my mind, setting the position actually about 1 foot behind where the face of this wall is, it really narrows the angle of which you can actually shoot back into here. So with the opening only being 7 inches and set back a little ways, you would really have to be shooting at a pretty tight, pretty perfect angle actually to get bullets to fly, straight back into here to actually hit someone. These sandbags are pretty water resistant, but they're not entirely waterproof. So to make sure that when it rains, I don't just get water just dripping and pouring into the position itself, I did work a tarp in, under this last layer of bags that actually extends down the walls on both sides to help keep the rain out. The thing I found interesting from quite a few of the different pictures I found of some of these bunkers built in Vietnam was that the back of it was more or less totally open, and they had a pretty big set of stairs going down into it. As far as I can understand, this was so that if they needed to quickly get out of the bunker, then they could just dart up these stairs and be gone. I got the top of the roof lined up with about the second step coming up this flight of stairs, and I can almost walk down in here without having to duck. I do have to duck a little bit, but you can see right there, it's not bad. From down inside here, you can actually get a pretty good view of the construction of the roof. So the fighting position itself was obviously inspired by some of the bunkers I found that the Americans built. This tunnel, however, and the spider hole at the end of it are obviously inspired by the Vietcong and the massive tunnel system that they employed during the war. So you've got your steps coming down into the bunker. If we pan over this way a little bit, then you have another step leading down into the tunnel itself. This tunnel then leads to another step and a platform at the very end of it, which is my spider hole. So you can see the construction of the roof of this tunnel is just all those split logs set in on a ledge up here. The idea obviously with the spider hole is that I can jump up on this little ledge right here. I can lift this trap door, peek out, and then pop up and shoot at whatever I need to shoot at. I ended up using a total of 283 of the 300 sandbags I bought for this project. That's going to be it for this video. I really appreciate you guys watching and sticking around for this. This was a lot of work, but very rewarding, a lot of fun. So if you guys have any more ideas of things like this I could recreate or build, or different things that you guys would like to see, drop it in the comments and I'll see what I can do. So thank you.